adjust them to be in line with here. That way it always sticks right along with the paper. But we get a little bit too close. If I click these guys, I can drag this out and then get that more like circular motion. That might be a little bit too much, but let's see what that looks. So if it's kind of arcing around it like that, what does that look like? Nice slow. Okay, so that's one way to do it. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can get the gist of the motion. If I ease these guys, and I'll render it out just so you can see what that'll look like. Oops, see now at the beginning when we adjusted that, you can see it changed how we're looking here. So we need to adjust. I'll go to my orbit and I'll clean that beginning part up. So now that's what our camera move's going to do. Again, our ending spot's messed up, so we got to adjust. We don't want to show that black there. I think in the example I did, it stayed on this type of, it didn't rotate, orbit around like that. So I'm going to delete these, go forward in time, and I think I'm going to grab the unified tool. I'm going to middle click and move kind of down here to the bottom and truck in on the bottom. I may orbit around just a hair. If I do that, what does that move look like? Ooh, that's funky. Let's do this. Let's just delete. We're back at the beginning here. Let's start over. Let's get these guys in here. Let's find our new spot. Grab my track, kind of track to the bottom, and we'll truck in. And I'm going to orbit just to adjust that crop a little bit. I don't want to see the black over here, so. All right, what does that look like? That's better. Yeah, I kind of just wanted to scroll down the text like this, which is kind of cool. So if I bring this up, I will render this, and you can take a peek and see what it looks like. And rendering this in full is just going to take too long. Let's do half. You all saw it in class, but some people took off from class, so I just want to make sure that you guys see how this is going to look. So you get the idea. It's just going to kind of slowly sweep down through this text, which is fun. But we don't have any depth. We need to get our depth going, right? So you kind of see how this is going to play out, right? Kind of cool. Let's get our depth. Well, if we have our movement done, let's go to camera options. Depth of field is on, but there's just not much. I'm going to crank up my aperture. You can see everything now is out of focus. It's because our focal distance is wrong. So let's go to our top, and we need to set our focal distance in line with our paper. So we need to bring this guy down to be in line. You see our target right here. I'm just going to kind of put it in the middle of our target, kind of where this line, my target line, intersects with my paper, which is on this line. So kind of right in the middle there. So if I go back to my active camera, my focal point should be kind of right in the middle, right? Pretty cool. Pretty neat. Looks fairly realistic. I like it. Looks good. We could put a vignette on here and make it look really good. We haven't done masks. We'll do masks next week, and I'll show you guys how to do really cool vignettes. If you want a quick peek on that, here's one way to do it. If we go to new adjustment layer, an adjustment layer is something that affects every layer below it. So it'll affect all these layers, nothing above it though. We can create a new adjustment layer. We go up to our ellipse tool with our adjustment layer selected and double click it. It'll create a circle around that layer, which is cool. If we go to our curves effect, we can throw a curves effect on that layer. And you see this mask down here. Again, we'll do this next week, so we're kind of getting into it early. If we go to subtract, well, actually, I'll leave it on add so you can see what it'll do it. If I take my curves and I bring this way down, it darkens it. If I change this to subtract, now we're starting this vignette look. And if I go to arrow down my mask and I bring my feather up, now we have this nice like vignetted look. I'm going to bring this not quite so far down. But now we've got a kind of a cool vignetting edged animation, right? Pretty cool. So that's a big chunk of camera movement. Obviously, camera movement, there's a million different ways to do it. A lot of the times we'll even move a null object and parent a camera to the null object because it gives us a little bit more flexibility. We'll do that in the future. We'll talk about what that means. But I really just wanted to intro a few different ways to move a camera. The big thing is use two views, see how this camera's moving during this animation to see if it's exactly what you want, right? It gives you a much more clear view of exactly what's going on. And what you're watching when you're creating your keyframes in your camera view doesn't necessarily mean that's how your animation is going to look when you go back and look at it. So it's something that you might have to smooth out using these curved Bezier lines, stuff like that. There's a lot of extra tools here that you can use to really perfect exactly what you want to do. So when we get into more stuff with After Effects, more advanced stuff, we'll talk about maybe some more advanced camera movement, stuff like that. But for now, I would use easy ease on your movements. I would make sure that you got motion blur turned on for your the layers that it's moving around. Make sure your motion blur for your comp is turned on. And I think that you guys can make some pretty cool stuff. So look forward to seeing what you guys do for next week in class. And we will talk next week about masks and shape layer, different, not shape layers, different layer types and stuff like that, I think.